The Middle East has seen dramatic growth and in some cases followed by catastrophic decline, all owing to one natural resource found under the earth there: oil. It was a British company in 1908 that first struck this black gold in Persia, now Iran, setting off a wave of explorations, extractions, and exploitation in the region. Both a boon and a curse, oil money fueled the economic growth of large producers like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Even non-oil producing Middle Eastern nations like Jordan, Egypt, Yemen, and Palestine reaped the benefits of profitable employment opportunities. But the oil also brought along conflict that ravaged the land, its people, and dragged on for decades. Over the years, oil became a tool of war. From the Arab-Israeli wars of 1948 to the Suez Crisis of 50s, to the Arab oil embargo following the 1973 Yom Kippur War, oil was used to broker power between nations. These oil revenues also financed some of the most destructive wars in the region. One of the most devastating was the First Gulf War. In 1991, Iraq invaded neighboring Kuwait over regional disputes. Iraq's claim over Kuwait was also seen as a desire to seize Kuwait's oil reserves. This triggered the United States to step in to safeguard its own oil interests in the region. Prompting the American-led military blitzkrieg of Desert Storm. As the war intensified, Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces set ablaze hundreds of Kuwaiti oil wells, creating one of the worst environmental disasters in modern times. The presence of American troops in the region spurred the rise of terror groups such as the Al-Qaeda, and ultimately leading to the arming and training of forces committed to Islamist revolution from North Africa to Southeast Asia. Post-war, the new political orders in many of these countries have seen rapid disintegration, forcing the entire region into an increased state of instability. Even wars that supposedly began because of localized regional friction have today imploded, with participants from all over the global power spectrum. The war over oil and gas-rich Syria is one of them.
Oil and gas are actually the main cause of any conflict in the world. It's a conflict of interest. The moment this pipeline would have been built, because Russia immediately stepped in, bought all the gas of Azerbaijan and bought the gas of all this company and took the full control. And those pipelines, because the moment the pricing is an issue, the longevity of it is also an issue. So it has put on the shelf because of the recessions as well in the European Union, because the global recession, the financial crisis have reduced all this ambitious plan for the moment.
With USA and other countries speeding up oil extraction in their own backyard and a dip in demand from China, crude oil prices in the recent years saw a slump globally, causing panic among the major Middle East oil-producing countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran. Economies that were almost solely driven by oil revenue are now suddenly facing a deficit. leading to a further destabilization of the existing political system in the region. In the modern history of oil, it was Pennsylvania in the US where oil was tapped first using a drill. And the first oil rig was set up in Texas, the largest oil field in all of the states of USA. Crude oil is found in the depths of the earth, whether it is under the sea or land. A geologist taps an area of land where oil is flowing beneath. The drilling process begins to find the exact depth under the ground where the oil is located. Once a steady stream of oil is found flowing underneath the ground, a perforating gun has holes through its casing, which allows the oil and the gas to flow up the well. An average Texas oil well is around 3,500 feet under the Earth's crust, 1,000 feet deeper than the height of Burj Khalifa. And the deepest oil rig, Sakhalin-1, is around 40,502 feet deep in the depth of the ocean. The Sakhalin rig produces 250,000 barrels of crude oil per day. This raw crude, whether extracted by an offshore rig or a rig on the land, gets transported by massive pipelines and tankers to refineries where the final product, be it petrol or diesel, is made out of it. India has estimated crude oil reserves of just over 600 million tons, and that too is expected to run out in 20 years. Or, in other words, in 2047, when India celebrates its century of independence, there might not be any fuel left in the country to run its vehicles and aeroplanes and generators and machines. The expected demise of oil haunts not just India but the world. India is producing less oil with every year and importing more. In 2017, oil production stood at 35.68 million tons, which is the lowest so far. Production in India has been on a downward spiral for the past 6 years. With the decrease in production and increasing dependence on oil imports, India seems to be treading on a slippery slope. This becomes critical because India does not have significant hydrocarbon reserves. The $2.5 trillion Indian economy, relying solely on oil imports, can cast a black spell on the country's progress. The mantra has been of self-reliance, of finding alternatives to the black gold. The ambitions are yet to translate towards any positive alternate. Until then, the common man will have to bear the brunt of the soaring price of oil, both economically and environmentally.